So it's got its challenges. What do you think is the actual, because you must have people come through and you're like, man, this person's not going to make it. I know you said if you work real hard, you can make it sometimes.
You don't need specific names.
This person's not going to make it. Like, what do you think are I'll face the opposite. What do you think are the key traits that someone has to have to be successful as a real estate agent?
Consistency and discipline. And honestly, the interest. My husband said something one time, and I'm like, that actually makes a lot of sense. He basically said, if you're not going home in your free time and researching ways to make what you're doing better just because you like it, it's not, you don't like it enough to do it as a business.
Right. Yeah, that's
and I'm like, that's actually really true.
Yeah. I think that's succeeded at a high level, like to be able to grow it and
totally
and crank
you're
it
not
up
obsessed with
100%.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially like longevity. Like you don't have to love what you do every single day, but you should love it as a whole, or at least the direction that you're going. And if you're not obsessed with that in your free time, then it's not for you.
This is why I hate this idea of a balanced life. My buddies used to grind my gears all the time about, oh, Chandy, it's all about balance, man. It's all about balance. And that's bullshit, man. No one ever got really good at something by balancing it with other things.
It's so funny
right?
because
like,
out of the other questions that you kind of like threw at me ahead of time, like one of my biggest goals is balance. You're like, screw balance. I'm like, that's all I want.
No, but like people think balance means like you do this for a little bit, you do that for a little bit. That's not, if you want to be hyper successful, you have to obsess over that thing. You just do. Your energy has to go there. And that's not to say don't take breaks and don't reward yourself. But if you don't have that level of obsession, like no one makes it to a pro athlete by doing 5 different sports. At some point, they specialize and they focus in on that.
I think when people are saying that, though, they're not saying like do that to get hyper growth. They're saying that on like a general enjoyment scale. Because I get what you're saying. Like for like me in engineering, I was not into it, and I every morning hated getting up to go do it.
Yeah.
And this, I work 10 times as much. I work weekends, I work evenings, all that. But I'm way happier doing it.
Yeah.
Versus what I was doing.
But you also can't take it with you. If something happens to you tomorrow, like I've just had, I know I'm really going off on a tangent here, but it's just like every single time something happens where somebody gets sick or somebody passes away, you're like, okay, yes, good thing we're happy what we're doing every single day, but sometimes we have to make sure we put other values first.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're doing it so that we get to a place where we truly do get to choose at some point what we're doing with our time. So you almost have to make yourself...
Don't lose sight of the end goal.
Exactly. Yeah. You're making yourself busier to, in hindsight, someday make yourself less busy.
I guess what I'm saying, like, don't make people let you feel guilty. I hate when people try to make other people feel guilty. Oh, you're working too hard. You need to take... It's like, maybe I enjoy what I'm doing more than I enjoy sitting here on this patio with you.
What are you saying to somebody that wants to get in? Do you get that question a lot?
Yeah.
Right. They don't ask you because they're too scared to work.
No, I'm a ray of sunshine. I mean, I always tell people like it's a very challenging industry, right? I won't sugarcoat it. I also say, there is a big upside to it, right?
Yeah,
like you can do financially some things in a short period of time that you can't do in a lot of professions. And if you understand
and same
real
with
estate,
schooling, it's not very long.
Yeah.
Low barrier to entry. Yeah.
Low barrier to entry, which for better or worse. And also, if you practice, no, it's true.
Yeah.
If you practice what you preach and you believe in real estate, it can then change your life because you will have access both intellectually and business wise to opportunities that other people just don't have familiarity with, and so. You can build wealth outside of just selling houses because you are in the industry, if you will. But from a personality standpoint, I would say to be successful in real estate, item number 1, it helps to be super connected.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, a lot of people do well in this industry because, they had a family member who was in the industry, or they have a background in the banking world, or, military and teachers and
big networks,
fire employees, like they have big networks of people that they can lean on for business. So that's kind of item number 1. Another item is hyper aggressive. Some people have the business model success just by kind of being super aggressive with their marketing, with their follow-up. And that sounds like a bad thing, but then if you can channel it to like, no, I genuinely want to be helpful. Why wouldn't I call everyone and be as helpful as I can? And then there's super, super organized. which is not something I'm especially good at. But you talked how early on, you were mentoring and learning a lot of the admin side of things, and still have some of those same systems. That's why some people thrive who have really disciplined backgrounds in whatever they did in their work life before.
Yeah.
Some people who transfer over to real estate maybe later in their professional lives, but came from really highly successful traditional white collar,
corporate positions,
positions, or teachers who are used to goal setting and scheduling, they can transition well. And then the last one is like likability.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like, oh yeah, so-and-so is all right. I mean likability, that people genuinely trust you. They want to be around you.
You're saying you can have any of these things, or you're supposed to have all of them?
If
Because
you-
I sure
no,
as hell
that-
don't have all
Yeah, I
of
was
them.
just thinking, I'm like,
this is a great-
pretty intensive list.
This is a great question.
fail.
If you have any one of them, you
Yeah.
can make a career out of it. If you have four of them, or can outsource and figure out systems to have all four of them, then you can really, really be successful.
But that brings me to the next point that I was going to say is I don't necessarily think that you can't be a good agent. You just have to pick the right setup, because some of those people make the best team members.
Yep.
Some of the
Yeah.
girls literally say on the team, I don't really care to be a lead making machine. I will take your leads and I'll service them so well that
Yes.
I'll get more
Yeah.
referrals from it. So
Yeah, yeah.
strengths, and the strengths there, they're super friggin' organized.
Totally.
That's the thing I
So-
was saying. For this
And I know
business, there's
some people on your team. They're likable as well, so they're organized.
Exactly.
They're likable. They
Yeah.
have the system.
But for some of them, like, I like to put myself out there more. And
Yep.
not to say that they're not going to do that, but like that's not as natural to them. But then they're like rock stars on their deals and they're getting referrals in the back end for that. So
Totally.
whether if they're showing up the same way as me or not, they're still doing well in the industry. So I think that knowing that if it doesn't work one avenue, that it could work another avenue. And it seems to be that teams are getting more popular, not for everybody, but just more, maybe that's the place for you if you don't feel like you have the confidence to do those things that are on your list.
Yeah, in the same way that like I outsource admin and organization.
Yeah.
Other people in joining a team, you kind of outsource the lead generation and maybe the bigger personality. Like you provide that for them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I think that's the other thing. Again, a lot of people are happy coming to this business because to achieve what they're currently achieving, it might not be as insane. Like we're saying all these things about like it's a 24/7, you're giving up your whole life. But to achieve a certain level, you don't necessarily have to do that. I know there's a lot of agents in our office that are like, I'm happy hitting this target and it allows me to spend X amount of months away, or I only work so many days per month, like all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And I think this business is awesome for that. Thanks for watching that clip from Master Keys Podcast. Check out that full episode here. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and share our podcast.
When I was broke, I had rich habits. When I was broke, I had rich habits.